Hello. Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be doing the next round of TBR Bingo. If you haven't seen the first videos, I'll have them linked in the cards. I have 24 spaces for prompts, with the middle space being used as a freebie. I'm going to pick the prompts at random out of a select group of prompts. If you have any ideas, please put them in the comments. When I get a bingo, I get a token, which means I can buy a book. And when I get the Four Corners bingo, I get half a token. I also get tokens for every 10 books I read, and every 12 bingos I get. Another way I can get tokens is by completing readathons. Half a one for a week long, one for a month long, and a half token every 3 months for the year-long readathons. Each book can only fit one prompt, with the exception of 1 or 2 prompts. After the 3 months are up, I replace every crossed out prompt and leave the ones I didn't end up completing. Hopefully that all makes sense. If not, ask questions in the comments. Let's go through how it went the last 3 months. Starting with the stats. I read 12 books in total. 3 in January, 5 in February, and 4 in March. In terms of the amount of pages, I read 3,082, 643 in January, 1,525 in February, and 314 in March, which is an average of about 34 pages per day and 257 pages per book. My average rating was a 3.58. I had 6 3 stars, 5 4 stars, and 1 5 star. In terms of format, I only read 3 physical books, with the other 9 being ebooks. In terms of genres, I read 5 romance or contemporaries, 3 mystery thrillers, 2 science fiction dystopian, and 2 horrors. I read 5 young adult and 7 adult books. I read 5 standalones, 3 first in a series, 1 I'm not going to continue in, and I finished or caught up in 3 series. And finally, in terms of authors, I read from 11 authors. 5 I read from before, and 6 were new to me. As always, I have done monthly wrap-ups in shorts for all 3 months, linked below. I started this quarter off by rereading Undead by Christy McKay, and then finished the series with Unfed, both 4 stars. I really enjoyed these books. The characters felt believable and well written, even if they were kind of stereotypical. For a zombie story, it had a surprising amount of humor and sarcasm, which made the group's dynamics fun to follow. I loved how each person still kept their own personality, and the way they found humor, even in terrifying situations, made them really entertaining. I do wish there were a 3rd book to wrap things up, but since it's been about 14 years without one, I guess this is where the story ends. I use these for the odd page number and buzzword reading challenge prompts. 4-star was Lady Darling Inquires After a Killer by Colleen Gleason. This was the first book I've read by this author, and I found it to be such an enjoyable, cozy mystery. The writing was beautiful, the story intriguing, and the characters were really well developed and memorable. The heroine, a clever and feisty older woman who happens to be friends with Sir Conan Doyle, made the story funny, witty, and full of charm. I loved the blend of mystery humor and literary nods to other famous authors. There were a few lingering questions by the end. I definitely want to return to these characters and their world. I use this for the 4 or more word title prompt. Finishing off Alexa Riley's Cowboys and Virgins series was The Virgin Cowboy, a 3-star. Honestly, this was another fun cowboy smut read with 2 characters who are totally head over heels and can't keep their hands off each other. It wrapped up the series nicely, even though it didn't have much conflict and felt a bit too short. This made for a sweet and tidy conclusion. I like seeing nods to the other couples, and the whole proposal, first time love, and big happily ever after in the farm vibe was cute. Not a lot happened plot-wise, but it still felt like a satisfying, fast, feel-good ending. I use this for the contemporary prompt. Following that was my only 5-star with the Deanna Rayborn Veronica Speedwell series, A Curious Beginning. This book completely drew me in with its smart twists, bursts of action, and the evolving relationship between the main characters. I loved that not every question was answered. There was just enough closure to satisfy me, but also enough mystery to make me eager for the next one. The author masterfully balances suspense with clever dialogue and richly drawn characters, dropping clues and red herrings at just the right pace. By the end, everything came together with surprising depth and impact, and I honestly can't say enough about how much I enjoyed it. I use this for the and, of, a, or un in the title prompt. Then I read Those Summer Nights by Laura Silverman, a 3-star. This was a fun book. I wasn't sure I'd like it at first, because the main character came across as a bit whiny, but she grew on me. The flashback sections bothered me a little. Some added depth to her story, but others felt unnecessary, almost like filler. Overall, it was a quick, enjoyable read. It's basically a friends to lovers story done pretty well, though there's not much real romance, and the humor leans more cute than actually funny. Still, it was a good book, even if it did get a little predictable towards the end. I used this for the 3 stars on Goodreads prompt. A very high 4-star was Maggie Evans' Hunt for Hostage. This book was absolutely hilarious and so much fun to read. It felt silly in the best way, and I honestly didn't even mind that the characters fell in love after just 2 days. It was just that delightful. I adored all the characters and was smiling like a total schoolgirl. It might be the cutest, most unserious mafia story I've ever read. He falls fast and gets obsessed quickly, which I loved. And she's such a fun, if slightly ridiculous heroine The only reason it's not a full 5 stars for me is that it felt like something was missing near the end. I just wanted a little more. I use this for the adult prompt. On the other hand, at a low 3 star, was Jessa Joy's Her Savior, part of a series I'm not going to continue in. This quick read had likable characters and a dog companion who completely stole my heart. I really enjoyed watching the relationship grow and seeing the love and support from family and friends. But honestly, the plot felt extremely rushed. Everything happened so fast that I couldn't fully connect. If the story had unfolded over a longer period, it would have made much more sense. It had the potential to be a cute short romance, but instead, I was mostly left feeling perplexed and disappointed. I used this for the read a book in one sitting prompt. I started March off with These Deadly Prophecies by Andrea Dang, a 4 star. I really enjoyed this book. It's a fast-paced, easy, and genuinely captivated read that had me hooked from the start. The mystery was expertly woven, and the narrative felt authentic. I loved the overall vibe and the concept of magic, though I did find myself wanting to learn more about how the world worked. While the ending felt a little anticlimactic after the build-up, I still ended up enjoying it much more than I expected. I used this for the 2024 release prompt. I finished the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins with Sunrise on the Reaping, and only gave it a disappointing 3 star. I didn't hate the book, but it definitely didn't wow me either. It follows the familiar formula: the dramatic reaping, the sponsors, the brutal action, but without the same tension, since we already know how things end. Some parts felt dragged out and dull, and character deaths didn't hit as hard as they should have. The romance was especially frustrating, coming off as shallow and repetitive. Even Mitch, who should be deeply affected by everything, felt oddly detached. Overall, it's not a terrible book, just a pretty underwhelming one. I use this for the highest rated prompt. Now, I will say, I picked up P.A. Cornell's Shoeshine Boy and Cigarette Girl because I needed a very short science fiction dystopian book. So maybe it's my fault I only ended up giving this a 3 star. This book was a cozy short read with charming retro vibes and a light sci-fi element. The alternate Toronto setting felt wonderfully atmospheric, and the romance, though not entirely convincing to me, had an earnest fairy tale quality that worked well for novella. The pacing was a bit uneven, and I got frustrated at the characters' poor communication at times. But overall, it felt like a hopeful 1930s style story about love over greed. Comforting, easy to read, and so enjoyable that I finished it in one sitting. I used this for the science fiction or dystopian prompt. I finished this quarter off with Lillian Lark's Her Vigilante, a 3 star. I thought this book started off great, but then everything started moving too fast, and I felt it hard to understand some of the main characters' choices. The first 65% was amazing, but the ending really let me down. The plot twist was pretty predictable, and the danger and tension that made the beginning so exciting disappeared too quickly, leaving the second half feeling dull and disappointing. I use this for the 2020 release prompt. So, with 12 books read, I was able to cross out 12 prompts and get 3 bingos. Along with the new stats boards from earlier, I'm also changing the challenge boards, as well as doing 2 more book journal type challenges. Finding titles to read at the movie theater with the title buzzword. In January, for the words before and after, I used Lady Darling Inquires After a Killer. In February, for keyboard keys, I used the most basic of keys, the key A, by using A Curious Beginning. And in March, for the words this, that, these are those, I used These Deadly Prophecies. Placing some stickers in my journal for the cover buzzword, I used Unfed. For internal body parts in January, I again used A Curious Beginning for silhouette, and used the dripping candle wax on These Deadly Prophecies for marches, actions, and movement. In my new author challenge, I need to find an author for every letter, as long as it's the first letter of either the first or last name, it'll work, with the caveat that an author can only be used once all year. So, for this quarter, I've gotten the letters C, D, E, G, J, K, L, B, R, S, and D. And these are which books I used for those letters. And the last new challenge this year is a small romance trope challenge. Just find a book to fit one of the 6 most common romance tropes. Opening the door to enemies or friends to lovers is The Virgin Cowboy. Next door is Hot for Hostage with Forced Proximity. And arriving last this quarter is the FBI serial killer romance, Her Vigilante, in the Imbalance Dynamics, Off Limits, or Age Gap room. For the tokens, I was able to grab 2 for every 10 books read, including the leftovers from last time, and 3 for the bingos. With the buzzword challenges, I get a half token every completed quarter. With the author challenge, I'll get a half token for every 6 or 7 books used. And for the tropes challenge, because it's a small 6-book challenge, I'll only get a half token at the end of the year when fully completed, which gives me 6 tokens from the last 3 months. I ended up using 15 tokens getting some books in. Thanks for Nothing by Stephanie Holmes. House of Dragons by Jessica Clues. The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. Long Live Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan. The Stars and Smoke duology, Stars and Smoke, and Icon and Inferno by Marie Lu. Forest and Kingdom of the Feared. I finally got my hands on these sequels in the Arc of a Scythe series by Neil Schusterman, Thunderhead, and The Toll. And lastly, by Trisha Levenseller, the last in the Daughter of the Pirate King series, Vengeance of the Pirate Queen. Now, let's remove those crossed off prompts and get some new ones up. We need 12 prompts to go with the 12 from the last board. First up is finish or catch up in a series. Second prompt. Free space, which means I don't even need a book for the space. Next prompt. Double length of the last read. Fourth prompt is last letter, first letter. Our fifth prompt is going to be a paperback. Sixth prompt. An author I've given a 5-star before. Next. Continue in a series, which is different than catch up in a series. That one has to be the last one. This one can just be the next one. The eighth prompt is animals on the cover. Ninth prompt. Another random number. 10th. A 2023 release. Next prompt. young adult. Last prompt to go. Start a new series. So, all combined, that's one standalone, one young adult, one format based, 2 prompts about the date released, 2 about the ratings, 2 about the page count, 2 about the title, 2 having to do with someone else's TBR, 3 series based, 4 about the cover, 3 randomly chosen books, and 1 free space. Along with the bingo prompts, I have the next 3 months of buzzword prompts. April is ordinal numbers for the title and accessories for the cover. May is the word make for the title and a border for the cover. June is a 1-word title and wings on the cover. Okay, so those are the prompts and challenges for the next 3 months. I'm always excited about what I can read using this board. If you have any questions about anything I've gone over, please put them in a comment. You can also leave any recommendations about what books I could use or any prompts you think I could use in the future. And again, let me know how many prompts and bingos you think I'm gonna get. I hope to see you back soon. Goodbye, 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 goodbye.